Let's call this 50 Shades of Blue.
This is what it felt like, wasn't it?
I don't know. I've never read the book.
I don't know. I didn't read it either. Here's what I don't understand, and we're going to go to Kenny Rhoda here in a second. Here's what I don't understand. We knew what J.J. Watt was. We knew exactly what he was, and yet he was still able to do everything he wanted to. Spencer Landon was the only guy that could contain him yesterday.
Spencer Landon, stop talking after the games. Jesus.
The punt,
you know,
roughing the kicker.
You're right. And I've had this, and this is something I want. He's one of the best players in the NFL. When Michael Jordan came to town, you knew he was going to get his. You just had to contain him.
Right.
You got to contain J.J. Watt. And that's my point. You knew he was going to make plays, but you don't run right at him. You don't pitch the ball at him no matter who's blocking him. If he's on the left side, guys, we're going to run to the right. That's what I didn't get because he is a great player. He's a top five, he's top 3, top 5 player. He's the MVP of the NFL right now for me. When you consider how bad Peyton Manning has played, I don't care about their record. He is one of the best players in the NFL.
One thing I want to bring up, and Kenny touch on this. We'll touch on this too. One of his keys was stop the run. What was it that the Browns did last Thursday? I mean, was it just Phil Taylor not being here?
Phil Taylor not being there, but also getting a lead early, and Cincinnati called terrible plays. Cincinnati, if you go back, look at the stats. Cincinnati ran the ball well when they ran the ball. They just didn't run it a lot. Jeremy Hill had a good game going. They just got behind and threw the ball too much. The Browns have not stopped the run per se yet this season, in my opinion.
All right, let's go to Kenny Rhoda. Kenny is in the KennyRhoda.com studios. Hi, Kenny. How are you?
Morning, guys. The Browns haven't stopped the run all season, and each week Eric asked me what my keys are for the game, and the first one or second one's going to be stop the run. Why can't they stop the run? Jim O'Neill, Mike Pettin, defensive guys. Why can't they stop the run? Now, yesterday, without Phil Taylor, obviously it affected it even more so, and they were unable to stop a second-string running. You're my boy, Blue! I was thinking old school yesterday. That was what the offensive game plan was called. You're my boy, Blue! And they just kept giving it to Alfred Blue, a second-string running, and they couldn't stop him. And it was amazing that, they just kept running it right down their throat, and that opened things up for Ryan Mallett in his first start. A few weeks ago, you had Blake Bortles in his 5th game with the Jaguars, another, I feel, inferior team to the Browns, beat them as well. And if you can't stop the run defensively, you're in trouble no matter who you're playing, when you're playing, on a bye, off a Thursday night game, on a short week, doesn't matter. If you can't stop the run, it makes life so much easier for whoever that quarterback is. And J.J. Watt, yesterday, unfortunately for the Browns, you had a healthy Jadeveon Clowney on the other side, and therefore that created some problem. Maybe they paid too much attention to Clowney and us. They didn't give the due respect to J.J. Watt, and all he did, he was involved in every play, guys. Offensively, he made the best catch of the game, and he's not even a wide receiver. Granted, he was a tight end in high school before he went to Wisconsin. He made the best catch of the game, and you can't lose the turnover battle either. So when you put those three things together, I don't care who you're playing or where you're playing, you're going to lose the football game.
Whitney Marcellus, kid from Akron, wasn't bad. Their defense overall, Kenny, they dominated. Their defensive line.
They're a good team.
Ryan Pickett, remember Ryan Pickett? He bullied the middle of that offensive line.
Are we not giving them enough credit?
I think so. What are they, 5-5 now?
5-5.
With the win, and now they think maybe they've got their quarterback. We'll find out. It's one game, and as we know, one game does not a quarterback make. So we'll see what Ryan Mallett does in his next game now that there's some film on him. But he's got a big arm, even though he underthrew a couple of guys. And they actually kept the Browns in the game early when they had short yardage situations. And instead of running blue, they tried to throw for it, and they got greedy. But Ryan Mallett was interesting. We were calling this the Tom Brady backup bowl. And yesterday was Ryan Mallett who won out over Brian Hoyer, but it wasn't all Brian Hoyer's fault. As you'll see in my grades a little bit later on, nobody scored very well in my grades. It was a total team loss from the coaching staff all the way down to the last guy on the roster.
The coaching staff, I'm going to go out to that. I think this is Mike Pettin's worst game as a head coach with the Browns.
I agree.
But that's something we can get into a little bit later. I'm going to ask you the flat question like we asked Tim. Kenny, I've known you for a long time, and maybe it's because we're in the media. It's easiest I get hyped up for high school game, for a McKinley-Massillon game. Not that we're playing, but you know what I mean. You're excited.
Yeah.
How this team came out so flat yesterday just bewilders me. Like, I don't get it. You're in first place. You've got all this momentum. You got a dome team. It's cold outside. It never clicked for this team for whatever reason yesterday.
How do you handle adversity, and how do you handle success. And we saw the Browns handle adversity pretty well when they were, not picked to win. They were the underdogs going into Cincinnati on a nationally televised game, right, Thursday night, and they handled that very well. They used that as motivation. Well, maybe they thought they had arrived. They were in first place all by themselves. We're all talking about that one. They're the story, one of the big stories of the NFL. They're in first place. What a great job Mike Pettin is doing, Brian Hoyer. And so you want to see how a team handles success as well as adversity and being the underdog. And the Browns did not handle success too well. Maybe they ate too much of it. They drank too much of that success and thought they could just show up against a team that a lot of people felt they should beat, even with J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney playing, and they had the rookie quarterback. So I think that came into play yesterday. They did not handle success well. I don't know. I wasn't in the locker room, guys. I don't know if you guys were to hear them all week and how they were talking about things, but they obviously did not come out with the same energy and the same anger, if you will, or whatever, in this football game, and lost to a team that has a worse record than they do.
Yeah. Here's my biggest problem with yesterday. I don't know how Ryan Mallett didn't end up on his back at least once yesterday. Me too. I went back and watched the second quarter again, and I'm just like, they didn't blitz at all.
There were a lot of quick throws, Andy, but you're right. There was no pressure in his face. Even if they didn't hit him, there were no hands in his face. There were no that. And if you're Jim O'Neill, isn't that your MO?
There was no welcome to the NFL, Ryan Mallett yesterday. Right. I didn't see that at all, and that should have been part of the game plan. And the other part I don't get, and look, I know Ben Tate said, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit now. He said, "I'm just a number," which is probably the dumbest thing he said all last week. But I don't have a problem with a lot of the things that he said last week. I want competitors out there. I want guys that want to play.
Right.
I want guys that are going to have a chance.
We're all numbers.
We are all just numbers.
There's somebody down in if we're all
guys,
numbers.
How do you not play the one guy that probably was angry yesterday?
Right.
How do you not play a guy who's going against his former team? LeBron James, last week, when David Blatt was going back to Boston, they wanted to win for David Blatt, right?
Yep,
right. LeBron said, look, we failed in Portland for Kevin Love. Andy, when he was over in Brazil, they wanted to make sure, he got the ball, got his touches, and win for Andy. So you have a guy who wasn't thought of highly enough in Houston with the Texans. I'll get it out. And he's here. You sign him in a free agent contract, and I'm thinking he's going to touch the ball 15, 20 times minimum yesterday.
I said that twice.
And Isaiah Crowell starts in the backfield, and sure enough, the game-changing play, in my opinion, was the Crow fumble. That changed the game. And then you do put Ben Tate in, but he's already, the mind's already out of it because he didn't get to start against his former team. So that would have been one of the biggest questions I would have asked post-game yesterday to Mike Pettin. Why didn't Ben Tate, your big free agent signing in the offseason going against his former team, start this football game, and why wasn't he featured?
Kenny, I said this last night to the guys. I feel like what Mike Pettin is doing with the running backs is Russian roulette. It works. You can treat these rookies a certain way, but as you said, you had the perfect storm yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about practice and all, and I hate to sound like Allen Iverson. You just sit up and have enough stones to say, this is my number one back. Whoever isn't my number one back, you're going to get whatever's left over. But yesterday as a coach, you use motivation and you use that. You say, Ben Tate, you don't like how things have been going. Here's the game to prove to me that you should be my number one guy. I'm sick of this roulette, and I'm a Crowell guy. I think Crowell is the most talented guy, but yesterday he would have stood next to me in the first half, and we would have watched Ben Tate. I thought that was a huge mistake.
Guess what? I think Crowell thought that was coming because he was asked after the game, did you know, what time did you find out you were starting? He's like, I don't know, 2 seconds before the game. That's when he found that out. Eric, the referee, what do you got?
Another thing, Crowell did not get benched at all for that fumble.
But you don't got to bench guys for fumbling, Eric. They're going to fumble.
True, but that was the crucial turning point in the game.
But the thing is, you don't know it when it happens.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know. You can go back to the Pittsburgh win, right? It was a Pittsburgh win at home?
When he fumbled a couple times.
Yeah, no, it was a block kick, right? Block kick in that game? I don't know, whatever. There was a turnover there. It's just one play.
But see, this is my problem with Mike Pettin, and I'm not going at you, Eric, and I'm saying this to all you guys. You got to be, with these running backs, you got to be one way or the other. Like, you can't let one guy fumble and you sit his butt down, and then you have a guy fumble and you keep him in. Because all that does is make these players question you on the sideline, and they sit there and they start to go, all right, what the hell did I do this week? Am I going to play? Am I not going to play? Think about Terrence West. Terrence West went out 2 Thursdays ago, and he's dancing for the cameras.
Right.
He's in Vegas. He's thinking, I've had my coming out party. Got 4 carries yesterday. So what I mean by this is you have 3 guys now in that locker room that are all going, I don't know what my role is next week. That's not the way to be in week 12 of the season.
No, I agree. Hey, Kenny, we're going to come back to you in a little bit. Any final thought in this segment?
No, Mike Pettin, I think, deserves a lot of the blame for this loss and his entire coaching staff. So we'll grade them a little bit later on, and the grades are very low for me.
All right, we'll come back to you, Kenny. We're going to go back to the newsroom right now. Faith Boone is in there. Faith, how's Snowmageddon going back there?
Oh, God, it doesn't stop.
What's traffic look like outside in case somebody's watching this before they go into work?
Really crazy. I mean, it just depends on where you are, really. I know that Jackie, our traffic reporter, just tweeted out that the section of 303 is impassable near Richfield, I believe.
Yeah, you got it.
And a Channel 3 crew actually just recently got into an accident that we're on scene going to.
Ooh, that's not good.
And there's lots of other accidents going on. The Maple Heights, what was it, the Rockside Road
Bridge.
Bridge.
Closed for a little while.
It was closed, but it has been reopened.
So basically, Faith, you're saying tell everybody stay home, turn on Dogs on the Run, get a nice cozy little sweatshirt on, a little cup of coffee.
What I would be doing right now. I would be in my Dogs on the Run short.
There you go. You got
sitting
Dogs
at
on the Run
home
shorts?
in the bed with the computer watching you guys.
There you go. See, that's where I like to be.
Hey, what are they saying on social media this morning?
I actually asked a very interesting question, and I'm going to be looking in a different direction when I'm doing this. But I asked what's one word that everyone could use to describe yesterday's game, and we got some very interesting words such as uninspiring, depression, nauseating, awful again.
Can I say bah hubbub? Can I use that?
Yeah,
one?
disinterested.
Is that one word?
No running game. And I watched some of the game yesterday, and it was just depressing. Especially because I don't know who it was. Again, new to football, don't know who it was. But there was a guy that got the ball after, was it a punt or a kick or something, and then he ran really far, and then he still didn't get the touchdown.
Yeah, holding will do that.
Holding will do that. It was a bad penalty.
Yeah.
Their special
But the
teams
guy
have
was
been
holding
good.
someone like way in the back. Why does he matter?
Yeah,
because when you're running by him and the guy's holding it, frees you up to go down the field.
Frustrating.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I saw
it was
that.
frustrating.
Yeah.
That's very frustrating.
All right, what's the question then you're asking on Twitter?
One
Facebook?
word.
The one word that you will use to describe yesterday's horrible, miserable, uninviting game.
What word do you have, Andy? Come on, I put you on the spot. Give me one.
Depressing.
Depressing?
Depressing was the word for yesterday's game.
And it was that type of day. It was great.
Yeah, it's exactly.
But that's and work with me for the younger crowd. That's Cleveland Browns weather.
That's fall football.
Yeah.
Right?
Fall,
When I was growing up as a kid, that was the day yesterday. It was ugly, it was nasty, it was dirty. You got a team from Houston here, and you would be your dad would have been high-fiving what your uncle's going. This is our weather. We're going to kick their butt. They're going to hate it here.
This is, we used to play a lot of pickup football at Lutheran East, right off of Taylor Road, Mayfield, and Cleveland Heights. We'd go there like every Sunday, and we would play. We'd come home muddy. We'd play at Wiley in University Heights. I mean, that's what I get. When I see those dark clouds over, I think about being a kid growing up in Northeast Ohio playing football.
But you know what? I remember when I was in high school, I went to Warren G. Harding in Warren, Ohio, Warren, Ohio.
Hence
and
Warren G.
I
Harding.
remember we had a really good football team my freshman year, and we totally lost the championship because of snow.
Was that Claret's year? No, that wasn't Claret.
He was right before me. He was the year before me.
See, I know your town. Right. Isn't that Paul G?
Oh, I wish you didn't.
1440 WRO right there on the square. I worked there for a little while. Yeah, I worked there.
But didn't Warfield go there too?
So, yeah, Warren.
Paul
He's from Warren,
from
too.
Warren.
Maybe.
I got you.
It's all good. All right, Faith.
From Foo Fighters.
Yeah, the guy from Foo Fighters. I love her.
He has a whole alley in Warren
She's
just
like,
dedicated
football,
to him.
football goes right over her head. She goes, yeah, but the guy from the Foo Fighters is on it.
As far as I know, Warren has to be there. And I just read this because it's on the bottom of the sports page. They seem to have a lot of massage parlors there. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
There must be a lot of people with stuff,
So they say.
bad necks. And
My shoulders
Right
just
down
got
the street
tight.
from the high school.
I'm going to let this thing end
Move along.
before we go to
Our
the
next
rules.
Dogs on the Run is going to be live from one of those.
Oh, that'd be
side
great.
parks.
Right with me.
Great.
All right,
Not
Faith,
going for
thank you
time.
very much.
One word. We'll get back to you on the one,
One word. Let's
That's
go
okay.
to George, who's on Skype. Is that right? George is on
Oh,
Skype?
it's Howie Smith.
Howie.
Come on.
What did I miss there?
Yeah, you don't have us on our. That's his fault. Flag.
How you doing, Andy?
on-
Andre?
What's going on, Howie? Sorry about that.
Uninspired. That's what yesterday was.
That's a good one. But how can and I agree with you. and I don't know, I don't have the answer. How can they be uninspired? Look about how excited we were. I would love to get inside the mindset of a football team and the coaching staff, Howie, because
I think it's the coaching staff.
Okay.
It's the coaching staff. How can you let a rookie quarterback stand in there all day long? They must have blitzed 4 or 5 times at the most. 4 or 5 blitzes, that doesn't do it. It tells me that the coaches are afraid that the secondary can't cover, one-on-one. It just doesn't make sense. They got to get after him. They pancaked him once right toward the end of the first half. They hurried him once or twice, and if they did, he made mistakes.
Howie, you look like you're in an interrogation room. Is that true?
I'm actually in an office, in my office in Hummelstown, Pennsylvania, still in the bowels of Steeler country.
We need to get you some pictures or something for the wall.
Well, I'm trying to do this at my office before everybody comes into work.
We got you.
Oh, yeah, you got a hush-hush on the Browns talk. Yeah.
You don't want them knowing what you're talking about.
Oh, no, I gloat about it all day long. Here, I'll show you a little orange spaceman we have here. How's
There you go.
That's a
Very
starter.
nice.
Well, what's the hardest part about yesterday's loss? I mean, I know one word here, one word there, but what makes yesterday's loss so difficult?
I just think the coaching staff was afraid of those receivers that they couldn't take them on one-on-one.
I think it goes a step, and to play off what Howie's saying, and he may be right. I think they were afraid of the arm of Ryan Mallett too. How much did we hear about, from Brian Hoyer down last week? We kept hearing strongest arm I've ever seen, strongest, and it plays into what Howie's saying. You were there, Andy.
Yeah.
Right.
The corners were playing 10, 12 yards off.
Every one of the few times they blitzed, they rushed him. Once they rushed him, they did well.
Yeah.
They were setting the second DB back like 20 yards.
That's what I mean. They were the furthest I've seen them off all season long. It made no sense.
Oh, yeah, just giving them 10 yards every time.
I had to look back and think, well, are they expecting a quick kick here, or is this? Are they going to punt? I mean, there were a couple times where I was, and I think it was.
Well, compared to
it
how
was Gibson that was back.
Yeah. Well, compared how they played defense against David Carr and the Raiders, they were super aggressive against the Raiders. They were basically daring David Carr, and David Carr's got a good arm too. They were daring him to beat him. They played on their heels. And here's the one thing I'll say about players. It's just like as a parent. If you parent scared, your kids are going to be scared, right, of a
Absolutely.
situation. I thought they coached scared yesterday, and the players weren't aggressive.
I'll buy it. All right, be careful there on the balls.
One quick thing on Atlanta. Everybody's talking about Gordon coming back and how that's going to be like the godsend for us. You got to remember that those guys practice against Julio Jones all week long.
Good point.
He's a similar talent. I don't think they're going to be afraid of Gordon. I really don't. And I don't know that unless we change the defensive attitude, I don't think we've got a shot down there.
I think we do because and Howie, you make a great point. Atlanta's DBs are, because they go against 3 great receivers, honestly, at least 2. I don't think there will be, but I think, and this is on Kyle Shanahan and the coaching staff, you suddenly have something up your sleeve now, though. You don't come out and run every play for Josh Gordon, but gosh darn it, you better play action and throw one deep to make them think about it, because they got to get this running game going. Let's be honest. If they can't run the football, they have no chance to beat teams the rest of the season.
Our yards per carry sucks all year long.
Yep.
Except for the occasional breakout 20, 30, 40-yarder. We probably average 2.5 yards a carry other than those all year.
Yeah,
all right. Howie, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking time. Just make sure you don't get interrogated too bad today.
Thanks for letting me in.
Tell them don't talk too much. They might lose to Tennessee tonight. I hope. Take care.
Take care, guys.